Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Raw Knuckles Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Welcome to the 100th episode of the Raw Knuckles Podcast. I just want to thank each and every one of our faithful listeners for their support. It means the world to us, and we couldn't go on without you. So keep listening to the Raw Knuckles Podcast, and thanks again, everybody.
Nyland going ballistic. He's a freaking madman.
I'm Chris Nyland, and this is the Raw Knuckles Podcast. And you know what? We might as well, and I always like addressing the elephant in the room, so we might as well start with the brawl in the hall, right?
Yeah, where's my shirt? That should be the elephant in the room. Where the fuck's my shirt?
Knuckles versus the Rat. Now,
Yeah.
It's funny, Jamie, we're always thinking of trying to come up with stuff for the website, and we were talking about things to do, and we did the Friday Massacre, the Battle of Quebec, right? We had that Good Friday brawl, that crazy fucking brawl that we had. And then the brawl in the hall, because it made such a big stink in Boston. So let's get back to that. And I want to get to that. And I remember that night, the shit that happened, a great rivalry between two original six teams. And, fuck, I didn't trust you. No one fucking trusted you. And sure, no one trusted me, and I get it. But yeah. I'm coming off the ice, and every time I come off the ice in Boston, Tim, I go through the runway there. I have a fight or something. I did something crazy, and people throw beers and fucking pizza, everything at you, right? So I'm coming off, and
you have to come by our bench,
which is stupid to begin with.
What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
So I'm heading over, and I'm just fucking fired up. The adrenaline is just running through my veins. And Kenny's standing up on the end of the bench. He stood up, and I'm going, fuck this. What's he going to do? And I said, you know what? I'm going to fucking crack him before anything. So I threw a shot at him. And as soon as I threw the shot, people grabbed at me, but I slipped on the rubber mat. You know how they're all wet there, and I slipped like that. And then the Rat came after me, and down the hall we went, and we all roll out into the hallway. And he fucking scratching at me. I remember I saw the replay after. I have a big scratch down here. I'm there. You fucker. How about that? From your point of view, what is it from your point of view that night? I want to hear it.
Well, first off, what pissed you off on the ice when you're getting kicked out? Do you remember what happened?
Yeah. Well, what happened? There was a little altercation, and Jay ended up with Chelios somehow at the beginning. And I was trying to get to Chelios to get him off, and I got grabbed by Boutillier, who's not a fighter. And I told him, let go of me. And he said, I can't. I said, let go of me. I'm going to fucking drop you. And then I threw a shot at him. I missed him. I just grazed his jaw. If I ever hit him, I would have caved his face in, and then it went crazy. I got kicked out. Jay wants to get me. Cuckoo Curran wants to get me. Everybody, and so I'm amped up.
So I'm looking at you coming off the ice, and I'm like, he's gonna do something. I could tell how fired up you are. And Jeff Courtney, I always sat on the end of the bench because I had such long legs, because I needed to stretch them out. But Jeff Courtney came from the other end of the bench because he knew you were going to do something. And he was right behind me. So I stood up because I wasn't going to get punched in the head sitting there. And sure enough, you did something. Everybody, just insinuated that I said something to you. I feel like the league probably even looked into it, and I definitely. There was no point in saying anything to you. I didn't need to get you fired up. But
well, I asked him before. I was like, "What did he say to you?" He's like, "He looked at me." That's all he said. He looked at me.
Yeah, I'm not going to turn the other way and get cold off. Yeah.
I see a picture here, and the Philly picture. You got a little rat in your shoulder. We got to get to the bottom of it because a lot of people don't know, where does the nickname the Rat come from?
Came from Bobby Clark, actually, who I just saw a couple weeks ago in Philly. Looked good. It was, it was a combination of the way I was bent down skating and, the way I played. And it fit like a glove. Unfortunately, I encouraged it instead of discouraged it. So now, some guy, some man is introducing his son to me and, says, "Oh, here's the rat," and, it's people try and say there's some positive spin to it. I don't see one, but everybody in Philly had a nickname there. I don't know if it was like that in Montreal, but all those Flyers guys that won the Cups, every single one of them had a nickname. And what was crazy was I was dating the owner's daughter there, and she wanted to get a tattoo, and we went out to get tattoos, and I don't even think I was going to get one. But somehow I ended up with a little rat with skates on my shin, which you can't tell what it is anymore, thankfully. But
it's faded from all.
Her dad came in and wanted to kill me because if you're Jewish, you can't get a tattoo and be buried in a cemetery. I'm like, wait, it wasn't my idea. Anyways.
So, your first, I want to get back to Kingston. Growing up, how many? Would you have 4 brothers and a sister?
Yeah, exactly.
And are you the oldest, Kenny?
I am, yep. Then my sister.
You're the oldest. So your sister Sheila, and she was a pretty good athlete, right? And your brothers all played junior hockey. And Dad, who you just recently lost last year in Kingston, was a big part of Kingston, the commissioner there of Public Works, was it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
For all those years. I read the article on him, and he had a lot to do with changing the structure of that city and the one-way streets. He was a big part of bringing the Kingston Canadians, the young Nats, and all that, right? So your dad was really big into hockey, huh?
He actually, so he played at St. Mike's with Frank Mahovlich and Dickie Duff, and was Montreal's, I don't know if they drafted him or how that all worked back then, but he was a right winger, and the 3 guys on the right wings there all ended up in the Hall of Fame. Anyways, he got a degree in engineering, and I think at that point you could make, as good a living in engineering as probably most hockey players, unless you were a star. So anyways, he came from Toronto to Kingston and started working for the city and making babies. And he was involved with the semi-pro team there, senior league, whatever it was, the Kingston Aces, I think. And I guess he was on the ice all the time, and I wanted to get out there with him. So I was on skates at 18 months, but it was mostly because I wanted to be out there with him. But
did he encourage the rat? Did he like that you played that style? Or that?
I don't think that was ever a conversation. He used to tell me, though, he used to say, "Go take a stupid penalty quick, because then you'll play really well to make up for it."
Well, it's funny. I wonder if the apple falls far from the tree, because here's a quote I read about your dad. Bennett talks about him. He said, Mr. Linseman was a guy who was determined to get his way. He was a very focused man. Kind of reminds me of the son. I found Ken was very helpful to rookie counselors, and he would go out of his way to educate those young counselors. Mind you, he would try to educate them Ken's way. Now, did the apple fall far from the tree?
No, not in that sense. His dad was German and died young, like my mother died young. But he was a Rhodes Scholar. He was really bright. I think he remembered everything that he read, one of, like my daughter's like that. But, oh man, he was way more hard-headed and intense than me, in my opinion. And it was funny that as he got dementia, his last 10 or 15 years, he just became sweeter and sweeter every day, and it was really cute. You know, he was very happy to be alive, and he didn't want to go, so I give him credit. He was fighting to the end.
Yeah, that's well. The day my dad died was the biggest gut punch I ever had, and honestly, my mom is suffering. She's still alive. She's 88. She got dementia. She's in a home, and it's a tough disease to watch a loved one go through. There's no question. But so, Kingston Canadians, great junior career. You get drafted. You want to leave. The draft year was 20. You challenged the WHA. You end up going there. Birmingham Bulls, they had quite the tough team. Now, did you take advantage of any of that toughness around you at the time?
No. You know what? We had Glenn Sommer. Actually, I wanted to go back. You know, my family, my brothers and I like telling Gretz this, and somebody posted something on Facebook the other day. As a family, we had more points in Junior A than any family at all. Number one or something. Somebody posted that, but my dad would be quite proud to see that. I just saw it.
Funny.
Recently, but no, you know what? They used to say, go. They'd start me sometimes with 3 or 4 tough guys. I've actually been seeing Robbie Ftorik's been coming to the games. He played for Cincinnati. That's where Paul Stewart was, and that was always a shit show. But I was like, no, I don't need to purposely do something. It happens all by itself, So I never did. I think you watch Marchand. You can see if the team's not doing well, if he's struggling. You can just see him getting ready to snap, and he's not purposely. He just can't help it. And I think that I couldn't help myself. Till I got suspended so many times that the next one was 16 games, I really had to stop.
Is that the kicking in the head incident? I asked Chris about the kicking in the head, and right away he just relates to it. He's like, yeah, I tried to kick somebody once in the head. And I was like, oh, yeah, shocker.
I
did. That happened in junior. In Ottawa. It was right around when they were trying to arrest some players from the Flyers from a game in Toronto. But so 2 guys were fighting, and then Ottawa's tough guy came over to me and started punching me and pushing me, and I just kind of stood there and laughed. And then the referee decided to kick me out of the game for being 3rd and 4th man in a fight. And I lost my shit completely, jumped out of the box, called him out, and went wild. And, I think I bit him 3 or 4 times. He's probably 35 pounds heavier than me. And at some point, I'm kicking him. He's down, and I'm kicking him right between the eyes. And thank God I came to my senses in the middle of the kick and slowed down, or I might have killed him. But it hit an artery, and blood was going everywhere, and it was ugly. So, anyways, I got charged with assault, actually. And,
it's funny. Not funny. I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that bad.
Not much on it.
Well, it was just a little cut, but it hit the wrong place. Yeah.
I was telling Tim the story when we had talked about that before we get on. I said, I tried to kick someone once, and I told him the story, Paul Baxter. I tried to fight Baxi, and he turtled on me, and the referee grabbed me, and I was so pissed because he had stuck me in the eye, cut me. I tried to fight him. He wouldn't. He turtled, and I got him down, and he's covered up, and the linesman grabbed me and pulled me off. When he pulled me, I kind of kicked my skate out on purpose. It looked like I went off balance, and I just missed kicking him. And I missed him, thank God. But then I got in the penalty box, and I had ripped his helmet off. Then I got in the penalty box, and I looked down, and he's telling me, I'll give it to you in the other eye. That's when I leaned over and grabbed the puck, and I rifled it right off his head and cut him open for 10 stitches. And I'll never forget, Ron Asseltine was there, and he saw me do it, and he goes, "What are you, out of your fucking mind?" I said, "Yeah, I am out of my fucking," and I was out of the game like that. Of course, you got to be out of your mind to do that. I don't think the average person cannot understand how guys can get there, and they just don't. But can you explain it?
I mean, I really don't even know how to fight, I would say probably, but if I was getting in a fight or going to do something like that, I wasn't fighting like or going to play by the rules. I was trying to kill the person. Like if I got to that point, I was, there completely out of my mind, which I think you probably could do that too, where you just lost it. And
easily.
Thank God, some, my head would persevere a little bit because, I've never got in really bad trouble since that incident, on or off the ice. But there was plenty of potential situations for sure.
So you're not a big guy, right? At the time, coming into the league, and you just start in Maine. You played a bit down there. You got great numbers, point a game player really your whole career, which is incredible. That gets most guys in the Hall of Fame. But coming into the league, did you have a mindset like, listen, I'm a smaller guy here. You know how it was in junior. Man, you got to protect yourself sometimes. You're going to get teammates there to protect you and help you, but you also have to protect yourself. Where is the agitation part that's sticking guys, the chirping guys? Like, how was that effective for you?
I think, I guess I would pick on guys that I thought were vulnerable. Or not, like I would never have picked on a Ricky Middleton or a Jean Martel or guys.
Are you gonna make me feel bad now? You're gonna make me feel bad?
that were really actually very very tough, but they wouldn't hurt anybody,
Yeah.
But kind of class acts that were tough. So it was only people that I thought I could affect maybe, or I sensed that they really didn't have, that big of balls or whatever it was. And I would do anything to win, during my career, especially earlier, I guess. But, again, I don't know. It was just natural.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than like playing against, because you're being 5'11", but there's nothing like a Marchand. It's like, he's really good, but he's also a loose cannon. Like those are the worst guys to play against. Did you feel being at 5'11", like that height, like you actually kind of created some more room for yourself with that kind of character?
You could tell the guys that were nervous for sure. I'm sure Chris could. And it was amazing how much it would affect guys. And I was lucky because I was skilled and I could skate. So a lot of times I'd be playing against the other team's better centerman that wasn't aggressive but was really skilled. But, I could kind of match them in skill and also disturb their game, and stay with them. So, I prided myself playing all over the ice for sure and doing whatever you could to help the team win.
And now you did. There's no question. So you go to Philly, and, I remember I was drafted in 78, last year of the 20-year-old draft. And I remember I wanted to leave and go to the Canadians, and my father's there, stay in school. And I listened to him, and I stayed in. I had a shitty year in school. I had a decent year in hockey, but school, I just forgot about it. I mean, I want to play hockey. I didn't ever want to go to school. I just didn't.
Yep.
I was focused on playing hockey, and I finally left the next year. And then that first year in Philly. And I see you there. I'm there, this fucking guy. Who's this guy? And you caught my attention, no question. Smaller guy, but could fucking skate and could play the game. And, it's funny. The word gets around the locker room. Watch out for this guy. He's this, that. He did this in junior. He's fucking dirty, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm talking to someone later, and they said, that fucking Linseman guy's a sharp guy. He apparently invests in art, and he's a good investor, and he's smart with his... And I'm like, really? That just doesn't fit the MO. And when I was, honestly, I had a hard time to believe it. You know how It's like guys like me get stigmatized, right? You know, you're a dummy, you're this dumb athlete, whatever. But so it kind of shocked me a little bit. And then certainly your career. I remember going into Philly. Steve Shutt threatened to shave me my rookie year. I'm on the back of the plane with him. Flower sat right behind me, and I'm next to Shutty. And he said, we're going to fucking shave you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, here's the deal. Shutty, I'm going to tell you right now, you shave me. I said, I will fucking take your legs out from underneath you. You'll never see it coming. And it won't be on the ice. So he's like, now he's starting to think, right? This fucking kid ain't fucking around. And I never got shaved. So I went to Philadelphia in a preseason game, and I went to the barber shop and I had him shave my fucking head. And I showed up to the game with my head shaved.
That was smart.
So and then I went out in the warm up with the shaved head, patrolling the red line, and I patrolled it so close to being over the line, I ended up in 3 fucking fights that night. And Kenny brought it up earlier to me. I forget who I fought. Ben Wilson, this one, that. It was fucking crazy. And out of the game I went. But I'll never forget
that was my introduction to Chris. Tim, was this guy shows up and you pretty much went after them. You didn't just wait for something to happen. You went and picked 3 fights. And it's like, oh, this guy wants to play.
Well, that was your first year, Chris?
Yeah.
Was that that was just right out of college? Like, no, yeah. I mean, that's pretty.
Well, I had already fought in the American League quite a bit, but I had not.
Okay, yeah.
You know, that's where I learned to fight on the ice. I didn't learn to fight in the ice in college for sure. So, but that's where it all started. And, you know, those are buildings, and that shit's real. That Flyers flu that they talk about, the Philly flu, and, you know, going into Boston, fucking guys get scared because they had tough teams. They're blue-collar towns that demand that type of fucking team. And
it was amazing. It really was. I mean, you know, watching Philadelphia and Boston play and then going to Philly and then going to Boston, I mean, it was just understood that the toughest guys were going to fight. It was at least 3 fights probably every game, and it would be a pecking order almost. And it was wild. Those were great games and fun to play in.
Fuck, weren't they? Like, it's crazy, Tim. Like, you know, it's just crazy today. Something happens. Like a couple nights ago, Kenny, I don't know if you saw it, what happened, Toronto, Ottawa. Did you see it?
No.
All right, I'm going to explain it.
I don't see too many other games besides, you know, the Bruins, unless it's on TNT or ESPN.
Well, what happened, the Battle of Ontario, Ottawa against Toronto. Toronto's up. No, they're down 4-3, and they pull the goalie. Kid from Ottawa, Riley Gregg, gets a breakaway on an empty net. He gets to the fucking hash marks, and he winds up and takes a slap shot and fucking drills it top corner. While Morgan Riley's chasing him down, and he swerves off into the corner, and then Riley comes up and fucking cross-check him in the head. And like the whole hockey world, I know, whole hockey world is
like he's murdered. Yeah, it's like a murder.
Yeah, it's like someone got fucking murdered. And I'm like, first of all, I mean, my take is that's something I never do. I wouldn't do the slap shot, but I cross-check the guy in the head. And a lot of people say, well, that's a good, so what? He's sticking it to the Leafs.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I mean, it was the way I was raised and the way we played. You didn't do anything or say anything, you know, to embarrass the other team. Because if you did, you know, that there was something's going to happen, and certainly, like shooting the puck into the net after the whistle, or there's a dozen situations that it just didn't happen, or you know, there would be guys coming over. And so it is a little weird, you know, you have all these, you know, well, what would you do if somebody went and did a lacrosse goal? Right? When you think about going and cracking them in the
break
head.
their arm.
He punches the TV every time someone does it.
You know, and it is pretty cool that they can do it. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But it seems like showboating. But I mean, you watch guys like I saw a replay this morning on NHL Network. Hughes, you know, putting the puck in, you know, an area about like that from the goal line, kind of shooting it almost at his head, and it hits the guy's shoulder and pops in the net. Guys do that stuff all the time now. It's amazing. So yeah, I don't know. You know, the game's changed for sure. There's not much fighting. There's not much hitting. I think a lot of times guys aren't prepared to get hit, you know, and you're allowed to hit. And so they have their heads down and they get smoked. My first year, I think I went up the middle for a pass and had my head down, head looking back for the pass, and got my teeth knocked out. And I remembered never to do that again, you know. But it's different now, so I don't know. I don't know what really to say to it all, but it's a good game still. It's fun. It's exciting. I would like to see more physicality and more forechecking. You know, the playoffs, like the way Florida played, that's generally how, you know, hockey was played in our time, I guess, you know.
Yeah, for sure. If there's one team that kind of exudes that, it's that team, for sure. Now, do you think today's game, and I want to get back to your stuff, but today's game, the red line being out, none of these kids, they don't know what a fucking red line is in a two-line pass or any of that stuff. Do you think that could bring back that style of game?
I don't know. I probably, I guess. You definitely want more pressure. I wish they wouldn't blow the whistle all the time. If the guy's not going to get back there in time. Like I get not hitting somebody from behind. I certainly support that not happening. But you'd have way more pressure.
Yeah.
It's a pressure game. I mean, that's what the Bruins do so well, is they pressure all over the ice, as a group. Maybe not that physical, but pressure makes for a competitive game, for sure.
You want it back, Nooks? You want the red line back?
I think it would help create a lot of that stuff. And I think these guys are so fucking good with the puck today that, and I've heard Bobby say it, that they're that good that let's see them come up the ice together and pass their way through that neutral zone and get into the fucking offensive zone.
There's not much creativity, I guess. Everyone just fucking flies and,
Yeah.
If you want to
and the league,
right,
the league wants speed, right? They want speed. And they don't want the rivalry games. They don't want the fights. They don't, because if you have those rivalry games, we played each other 4 times in preseason, then 4 times in Boston, the regular season, and you guys played 4 times in Montreal. By the time playoffs came, we wanted to fucking kill each other. It was like they created that atmosphere, and I don't think they have that anymore. The league's certainly expanded. It got too much, and I think the red line, it makes the game faster. It doesn't necessarily make it better.
Yeah, a combination of all, I guess, would be my vote. I'd like to see it more physical, probably, not necessarily more fights, but certainly more physical, and fights usually come from that. But along with all of the great skills, now most everybody can really pass the puck well, and that wasn't the case, when we played. It's kind of like you can't pass, you can't play, which I've always believed in, but it's true in today's game, it seems.
Yeah. So those 4 years in Philly, and then you go off to Edmonton, and you win a Stanley Cup. How was that, playing with the Gretz and everybody? That team was a powerhouse team.
You know, what's cool, I guess, and yeah, it was an amazingly talented team, but so many good guys and so accepting. Like, I walked into that room and Mark, Kevin, and Glennie kind of surrounded me and just started hugging me and like, you know, you're part of our team, and very open to whoever, you know, and Glenn Sather, he let all those guys develop. In fact, when we lost to the Islanders my first year in the finals, you know, then he was like, okay, he hired Roger Nielsen to break down the tapes. And our game plan the next year was take the puck wide, shoot it at the net, and drive in for the rebounds, because you couldn't make a play into the slot. You know, they were the first team to really collapse way before, you know, it became, you know, usually the wingers would be up on the defense, right? But everybody would collapse. So you could never make a play, and they would counterattack, and they had so many great players. That's how they would beat you. And, you know, it was the year we won was my third Stanley Cup final. 3 strikes and you're out, I'm thinking, and they were all against the Islanders.
Wow.
And the first was in Philly when we set the record for 35 games without losing, and I think it's still a record in sports, but we took a bunch of penalties in the first game in Philly. They won, and we got to game 6 there. If we'd won that, we probably would have killed them in game 7 at home, but there was a really blatant offside that Leon Stickle had missed, unfortunately. Great guy. And they scored, and I think that either took it to overtime or was the overtime goal. I don't know. But so, yeah, when we won the Cup, I was more relieved than anything, just like thank God, because so many great players, you know, never won Cups, and it would have killed me not to have won a Cup. Just because you're not, you know, you do all this, and coming in second place means nothing. You know, you got to win. You got to win your last game for it to really matter. You know, for your career, that you actually did it. You know, we're part of it.
It's funny you say that, because I tell this story, but you know, like Lanny McDonald, the last game, won a Stanley Cup. Ray Bourque, his last game, won a Stanley Cup. Not many guys go out that way. I came into the league. If I left school a year early, chances are I would have been there for that 4th Cup in Montreal. Good chance I would have.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. I come the next year, I think I'm going to get a cup. Nada. Nothing. Now, 86, we know what happened in Edmonton. Steve Smith scored that. Well, we took full advantage, and thank God that happened, because I probably would never have a Stanley Cup. That one in 86. So say that doesn't happen. 92, I come back to Montreal, and I want to play one more year. Demers doesn't want me. He wants Rob Ramage. Fine. I retire. I wanted to go out with the jersey I started with. It was a great honor for me to do that.
Yep.
They win the Stanley Cup that next year. So I bookended my career where I could have maybe. Imagine if I don't win that in 86, I'd be ripping my hair out thinking I should have left school. I shouldn't have listened to my father. But to have that one, it's fucking incredible. You know?
It's funny when you say about your dad, because my dad, while I played junior, I went to the university in our hometown, Queens, which is I think it was the top university in Canada, or one of them anyways. But I kept going to school because he was like, well, what happens if you don't make it or any of that? And I remember my professors, and I got my contract in the mail, and it was $1 million, which was a lot of money back then, to sign underage. And he's telling me that I should stay in school. And just all of it. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, I can go hire somebody to teach me if I want. And it's funny, I did hire a Wharton professor once to teach me some accounting stuff so I could read financial statements when I was in Philly. But yeah, my dad was encouraging it. I think it was, you know, after my third year of junior, I was, you know, I have attention issues, and I was getting almost bored and kind of wasn't getting any better. And he, I think between all of it, he's like, you need to go now,
Yeah. And you challenged that, you end up going. And certainly what you did in your career is incredible. So that Stanley Cup in Edmonton you win after being there twice and not, again, that relief. Because
what was the difference, though? Was it just be Gretzky? Was that like the biggest difference? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
what's that, Tim?
Like that third year winning with Edmonton, I mean, you lost twice with Philly. What was the difference between the teams?
No, once in Philly, once in Edmonton. Then the 2 years I was there, we went to the finals both years.
Yeah.
The second year we won.
Gotcha.
And the second, well, part of it was we matured as a team and actually tried to, play in a way that was going to help us win. Where Roger Nielsen was like the first guy to do videotape, and Sather hired him, and they broke down, the games, and we had a game plan, and it never was that sophisticated anywhere I played to that degree. And, once we got ahead, and the Islanders had to open up, then it was open season, and I think we beat them in either 4 straight or 5 games. But, for a team like Edmonton to be taking the puck to the outside and shooting it on the net, sounds crazy. And we played 4 lines also with all those great players. But you got to give Slats a lot of credit for all of that, and for letting everybody's skills mature. By the time I got there, I had already been in the league 5 or 6 years. But like Mark was just starting to come into his own. Like Mark and Glennie were my wingers. We were the second line, and I think we had 140 goals between us. But the next year, I got hurt, and Mark moved to center, and I pretty much became a rover and had a really good playoff. But I knew my time there was done because you got Gretz and Messier. I'm not going to be top 6 forward centerman. So that's how I ended up in Boston.
Yeah, and you end up in Boston. You did, and you ripped it up there in Boston every year you were there. Incredible numbers, like just really point of game guy again. And, it couldn't have been more fitting. I mean, Philly, yeah, but Boston, man, they wrap their arms around you like they do all their players and just tug them in. And you fit right in with that group. There's no question. And what is it? And I look back, Philly, Edmonton. Now, I can guess maybe Edmonton, why? But why do you reside in Boston today? Well, actually New Hampshire, but you basically stayed in the area.
I was actually buying apartment buildings with a guy I played with in Birmingham, Joe Norris, in San Diego, was spending a lot of my summers there. But when I was getting ready to have kids, it's like, I can't raise my kids in California. It was just, it was just not. I'm an East Coast guy, and even though I love the weather and everything there, I needed to raise my kids back here. And I used to come up to New Hampshire. I started surfing while in San Diego, so when I came to Boston, I was able to surf also. And I would come up here and surf in the morning, maybe before practice. Never surfed on a game day or anything, but surfing's my addiction, my passion. And New Hampshire, Maine really reminded me of Canada a little bit, and really good people. And I love New England, and this is kind of where I retired. So that's how I ended up staying, and it's been great. My kids grew up in a really nice community. They're great kids, and we love it here. It's like the surfing community is almost like a hockey community. Everybody's really close. Everybody watches out. Like none of our kids, got in trouble really, and they're all ended up good kids because everybody's, supporting each other all the time. So very fortunate.
Still surf? Do you still surf today?
Oh yeah, yes.
Wow.
I've surfed 8 of the last 10 days here. I have a house in Puerto Rico too, and I spend a lot of time there in the winter. Going back down probably next week. But yeah, we'll surf in the middle of a blizzard where all of the hair in our face will be covered in ice. We don't care. If the waves are good, we go. Like, we might end up surfing later today if the wind switches. We're in the middle of a nor'easter right now.
And it's funny. I played some alumni games with Kenny when I was living in Boston. And we've had the chance to talk and have a relationship away from the rink that every time we do, we have really good conversation. But Kenny would come into the alumni games, Tim, and because he wears a wetsuit and the hood while he's surfing, he'd come in and his fucking face is all bright red right here. Yeah. His whole face, and the rest of his body's just fucking white. He got the big red face and that's it. But yeah, that's cool you do that. People find that crazy, like people surfing in the middle of the winter. But like you say, that's your addiction, and if that's the one you have, that's a good one to have, because I had some other ones.
Do you prefer surfing in the winter, like this weather, or do you like?
Well, we have way less people, and the waves are better. Like, I mean, we had some 20-foot perfect waves. I don't know, in December sometime, just before Christmas, that broke for like 400 yards, perfect. So in the summer, everywhere in the world now, there's way too many people surfing. So if you're all out in one spot, it gets kind of a pain in the ass. In the wintertime, it pretty much comes down to the core guys. So it's less crowded.
So those years with the Bees, and then you go back to Philly. How was that? It's just not the same, right? When I came back to Montreal, it was Montreal. The jersey was great, but it just wasn't the same.
Yeah, it was really strange. I was very fortunate playing for Philly, Boston and Edmonton. I think, along with Montreal, were the top winning percentage teams during my career. So I got, Milbury took over as coach, and that wasn't going to last long. And when I got traded back to Philly and I got there, they were fighting to make the playoffs and didn't make it. But I've never been in a situation where guys were kind of worried about themselves, which is a natural instinct, than what's best for the team. And so that was just all really weird. And because the Flyers had always had great teams, and I don't know what happened there, but anyways, it was a tough, it was in January, so I wasn't there that long, and then I went back to Edmonton the next year, which was even crazier. I was making a full cycle.
All right.
But Rick Tocchet and Craig Berube were there, and I really enjoyed my time with them. And great guys, and it's been cool to see them go on and do some coaching, and Chief win that series with St. Louis, unfortunately against Boston, but great guys, and they were still focused on like what's best for the team, tough guys, that's kind of part of their role. It's like taking care of everybody, so it's maybe more of a natural instinct. But yeah, it was unfortunate, really, and not a very good experience because we didn't even make the playoffs, and I didn't do much to help the team get there. So,
I got to ask you, the rivalry, Canadians and the Bruins, and haven't been part of that a few years. And certainly my years there, playoffs, we always ended up coming out on top. And I don't say that in a cocky way and, fuck you. And,
it was a fact.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I've had guys on here. I had Terry on here. And Terry is the ultimate. I was a Bruins fan growing up. I love the Bruins. But boy, that changed quick once I got in the league with the fighting and all the shit that happened over the course of my career. But if there was somebody I actually felt bad for, it was him.
Yes.
You know, because of what he put into the game and how the fierce competitor he was, and he wanted to win so bad, and he always got that close. And then you talk about guys not winning the cup. That's the guy you wish you could see win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. You know, all of us that played for him, Ray, you know, you could go down the line, who our favorite coach is. They'd say Terry, and I got to play with him, and he was a great player. And playing against him, you never wanted to look him in the eye. I mean, he and Clarkie, I would put there as the most fierce, over-the-top competitors. Like, I always say to Terry, the Monty Python, where the guy's losing his arms and legs and he's still coming at you.
Yeah.
Like, that's Terry. That's Terry. He was fighting that. His last year, we're in Calgary. He's got his shoulder in a sling. It's separated. And Dale Hunter does something to somebody. And Terry wants to go fight him. And I'm like, don't. So he's standing there, letting Hunter take swings at him with one arm, taking a shot so he could hit him with his left. And an amazing man, smart, tenacious, he's
I love him.
One of my favorite people on this earth.
Yeah, he is an awesome human being. It's funny. He told a story on here, and I brought it up because I had both guys on. I had Ryan Walter on. We were playing in Boston, and him and Ryan, boom, they went at it. They dropped the gloves, and they start to go, and Terry's shoulder came out. And Ryan knew, and he stopped.
Yeah,
Ryan Walter was invited, the only guy who didn't play for the Boston Bruins who was invited to his jersey ceremony.
How cute.
Terry flew him in, had him come. I was like, but that's Ryan.
Yeah.
I know Ryan. Ryan's like a friggin' sweetheart. He's like he's just a beautiful. Yeah, beautiful human being. And Terry recognized that and had him there, which was so cool. I thought it was so cool. So,
what do you think, Chris, about the way guys fight now and, they stop, or if they've got somebody down and they could hurt them and they stop hitting them?
Or you see a lot of like the patting on the back, like "good job, buddy."
Yeah, it's much different, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Well, I'm kind of asking you the question: what you think of it? I mean, you and I maybe more so than most would lose our shit. Maybe those guys obviously aren't losing it, too often, and it's just different.
Yeah, I think they worry about it a little bit, but and honestly, when I fought guys, if I had them down and got them down, I wouldn't hit them. I'd sit on them, but I wouldn't hit them. I remember Pat Price. I fought him in Quebec. I hit him. He went down, and I just skated away. I think you see that in a few fights where I got the edge like that, and I had a guy down, I wouldn't hit him. But I mean, I've been in. I get the. I remember back in the day, sometimes there'd be an extra little claw in the face, or you'd be someone trying to fucking gouge your eye or something. They were so angry. But I got that too. I understood that. Guys would get so pissed. But today, I guess, when I look at it, it's no fun to do. Not no fun to do. It's just guys aren't sure, I think. They're worried about the instigator, the extra penalty. And there aren't as many fighters, right? There's not as many fighters.
Is there anyone in today's game, Chris, that you feel like could have played back in your day, like had maybe that? I can't even think.
Oh, yeah,
like
Tom Wilson, right?
Yeah, okay.
Tom Wilson, Reeves. Yeah, Lucic, Reeves. All those guys. Any of the Delorier's a tough guy in the league. He played in Philly. He's another tough guy, could have played in our era. It's funny, like I hear like Rick Middleton said, I couldn't have played today. I don't believe that. I believe if he was a kid and he played hockey in this era, that he would have rose to that. You know, I just truly believe that.
I don't know what he's talking about. Nobody had better hands. I mean, one-on-one stuff he used to do. He didn't even know what he was doing. You know, you ask him, he had no idea. When I came to Boston, after I played with a lot of great players in Philly and Edmonton, and I'm watching Ricky, and my brain's like a computer. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I was learning stuff watching Ricky play, you know, day to day. Amazing hockey player.
Yeah, we had him on here, and he was awesome. You know, we talked about the whole incident between the two of us, and we finally put that to rest. It's funny. I reached out to him. I said, listen, we got to talk about – I left him a message. I said, we got to talk about when I hit you. And he said, Chris, he left me a message. He said, listen, we don't have to talk about that because, you know, I've already apologized. And, you know, I had apologized to him. He said, I've accepted your apology. We don't have to go back there. But we did have to go back. I said, listen, we have to go back there because I have you on and that doesn't come up. It looks like I'm hiding from it.
That's why you started the podcast. You know, we have to bury the hatchet. So you can bury the hatchet with like 1,000 guys. Yeah, we know why.
Thanks, Tim. But you're right. Yeah, it's been awesome. I love talking to guys I played against for sure and guys I played with, but you're one guy that certainly, but we've connected a lot of times when we've been together. And I remember the night where we were in Nantucket, we were at the Chicken Box. Remember that night?
Was that
what the hell were we doing down there at the same time? I can't even remember.
It might have been an alumni, not just Bruins. But did you get in the brawl with Steve Rooney there?
Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy John Kane, my partner, was down there with us. He ended up in a bed and breakfast place with some girl, and he came upstairs, and the dad was chasing him out of the house. It was classic.
Shit.
Yeah, I not to get all mushy here, but I was really glad that I got to know you, and you know, we have some similarities, and I think you're a great guy, and I'm glad everything's going well for you. So
I appreciate it, and likewise. You know, way back in '84, there was a Sports Illustrated article about how your agent said you were such an astute businessman, and you know, I think back on my career. And it's hindsight's 20/20, right? I was so focused on hockey, my job, I didn't have time for the other stuff, I thought. But maybe I just wasn't smart enough or disciplined enough to do it and didn't have the direction. And I'm not making excuses for myself, but I look at South Boston, okay? When I was playing, you could get one of them, you know, six-deckers, triple-decker over there for fucking 60 grand. Okay, just buy one of those knuckles, you know, maintain it, rent it out, and I never did. Today, you know, it's like $500,000. I mean, $5 million for a place like that now. And you were smart enough to get in there. Where does that come from, that discipline to do that, and that I'm going to start now while I'm playing? Like, that's so cool that you did that. Not a lot of guys do it.
Yeah, I'll go there. Before I even go there, do you remember when I was, I was Rite Aid's preferred developer, and they bought Brooks, so I was down in your home market there, and I called you. I was like, so where do you live here? And you told me where you lived and where you used to shoot pucks up against the little school next to you and all that. Yeah, a lot of memories. So, well, one thing, you know, I have a hard time focusing on something unless I really like it. All the downtime, you know, during traveling and, you know, hotel rooms and my mind, I needed to be doing something. I needed to be using my brain. You know, I didn't work on game days, but I also knew that I just didn't have the makeup to work for somebody. You know, the only person I've ever worked for really is my coach, and I was talented enough that If I didn't like the coach, I wasn't going to stay there. I didn't care. I couldn't deal with somebody that was treating me, or whatever. Anyways, but
I got you.
So I knew that I needed to make sure I had enough money, so when I was done playing that I didn't need to go work, though I ended up going and working, developing real estate. It was just part of my DNA. My dad was, buying homes, multi-family homes in Kingston and renting them to the Queen students, which he taught my brother how to do, who did really well. So I just got attracted to making money anyway. How anybody made money is something I found very intriguing. And, I just tried a bunch of stuff. And, I was lucky enough to get good advice. I got incorporated. So the teams would pay my company. And, I could have my own pension plan. The NHL would be contributing $3,000 maybe to your NHL pension. I was putting $25,000 in, able to write it off. And, I guess I learned early too, if you don't understand something, don't invest in it. And I just enjoyed it. So I always was working at it. And so when the season ended, I was looking forward to being able to just use my brain and see what I could do, and when my career ended, same thing. I was like, all right, now let's go see what I can do, and it was, that dumb hockey player thing also, would really piss me off and wanted to, show the other side of that because, most athletes are pretty bright and pretty determined, and business is no different than hockey. You work hard at it, give it your best, and pay attention and determined, and you're going to succeed. Making it in professional sports, I think, is way easier than making money.
Yeah.
Did you start that early, like really early in the career?
Yeah. When I signed at 18 and then the next year got incorporated. So at that point I could, write all this stuff off, and I was buying art and antiques and like, I don't know if you remember when junk bonds got created, that Michael Milken, who they sent to jail. I understood what was going on there. Companies buying another company with, high yielding bonds, and it just kept going. And, now we have a family company that my son's doing most of the hard lifting, and we invest in all kinds of stuff. We probably have 25 different things that we're passive investors now, but we still, do our developments. Like we got 32 townhouses going in the back of our Rite Aid development. But so when I retired, I went from apartments to retail, really, and really like location, and then the credit of a national tenant backing up the lease, where you could get the best financing and blah, blah, blah. But
it's funny you called me that time and asked me about that piece of property at the end of my street, and it was an International House of Pancakes. They tore it down. The lot was empty. I think now it's condos. Is it? The condos went in there.
Yeah, there was a Rite Aid not that far away, I think in Roslindale or something. It's funny. All the pharmacies down in those areas are closing them because of all the theft.
Right. Crazy.
Now, you're hearing it all on the news. But yeah, and I think there was a Chinese restaurant there. And we're trying to find out who the owners were to see if we could relocate a store.
Yeah, crazy. But, Kenny, good stuff. Really awesome to chat with you here today. And I just, I got one more thing I want to ask you. And, awesome career, great career. Stanley Cup, you're doing great in business. You're living a good life. And, I want to ask, and usually someone else writes our eulogy when we die. Okay? When you die, someone's going to write your eulogy. But if you could write your own, what's the first line?
I I don't know, man. that's a good one, because dying sooner than later at this point, or at least we're in the last third of our life. Even
Yeah, we are.
Love to win, I guess. Would do anything to do that. Anything to help a teammate on or off the ice. Yeah.
That's cool.
But it's been a good life. No complaints. Made lots of mistakes, but wouldn't change a thing.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.